This is day one of our travel to California from Toronto. We had a 1 hour layover in Calgary, so we grabbed some Thai Express, and we also saw our friends Chloe and Josh on the same flight as us. We got so lucky that the seat next to us was the only one on the whole plane not taken, so I stretched out and took a nap. We grabbed our luggage and then went to our rental car, which had some complications, but honestly, who's ever had a smooth rental car pickup experience? We checked into our hotel on the Sunset Strip. Stay tuned for our review to come. And by this point, it was 8 p.m., which was actually 11 p.m. our time, so we were so tired but starving, so we scootered down to Sir, and on the way we saw the Oppenheim group. That was so surreal. I was convinced we were going to see the queen herself, Lisa, but we weren't so lucky. It's okay though, the food was delicious, the goat cheese balls lived up to the hype, and our waiter, Anand, was so nice. That's all for today. We still have 9 more days left of our Cali trip, so make sure you follow along. This is day 2 of our Cali vlog, and we have a big day ahead of us. So we grabbed some breakfast at the hotel and then got an Uber to the Hollywood sign. We got all those tourist pics and then headed up on the hike behind the Hollywood sign. The sign was terrifying, but luckily we didn't see any. After some long, strenuous, steep hills, it took us 2 hours and only 4.5 kilometers to get up there, and the views were worth it. We rewarded ourselves with some In-N-Out, and honestly, the burgers were a bit of a letdown in our opinions. They just weren't amazing. After that, we visited the Hollywood Walk of Fame and did some more tourist stuff. We were warned that this area would be a bit sketchy, but it seemed completely fine during the day. I'm not sure how it is in the evening, but we had a great time. We took some cute pics, and of course we went to Target, and I tried the true fruits for the first time, and they lived up to the hype. They were so good. We went back to the hotel and got ready for dinner and headed out to the Grove, which little did we know, Taylor Allison Swift took over. I just thought that this was such a huge coincidence because we had this plan in place for at least 6 months. We didn't get to see her, but we saw this dog with an Eras t-shirt, so that made up for it. We walked around the farmer's market for a bit and then ended up on Sunset Strip at Everlay for dinner. And guys, look, they had a rat in the kitchen. How crazy is that? Just kidding. The food was delicious, and that was it for the day. Stay tuned for day 3. This is day 3 of our Cali trip and our last day in LA, and we have a very special surprise. Our first stop was at the Griffith Observatory, so I thought we were dressing up and taking cute pics and content for a YouTube video. Little did I know Denver had bigger, better plans for us. At first, I thought he was planning on doing it here, as he had some tells, so I told him I knew and I wanted to be surprised, so I thought he would change his plans, but he didn't. And it actually worked out because I was so surprised that I didn't expect him to keep these original plans. There was a photographer actually hiding above us, and that's when it all hit me and the waterworks came out. Then we had a chance to take some photos with the photographer all around the Griffith. Denver absolutely killed it with this location because there were so many beautiful spots for photos with a view. Then we had our celebratory lunch at Shake Shack, and this was so much better than In-N-Out. I will be insufferable showing my ring off like this from now on. Then we went to Beverly Hills and took some photos down some of the iconic palm tree streets, and we drove around to look at giant houses. We came across this hidden park called Greystone Park, and it was stunning. We were shocked no one was there. Got a pic at the Beverly Hills sign and went to Erewhon, where we tried the $24 Hailey Bieber smoothie. It was pretty good, but for that much, I expected to look like her after it was done. We window shopped along Rodeo Drive with Chloe and Josh, and then went to Tom Tom for dinner. Miss Lisa must know what she's doing because the food at her restaurants are superior. So tons kissing and then headed back to our hotel. Tomorrow we're heading to San Francisco, so hit the follow button for more updates. Today we are road tripping from LA to San Francisco, making a few scenic stops on the way. We grabbed some footage for our hotel review, which is coming soon, and then headed on the road. First stop was Malibu. We didn't want to pay $15 for parking for 10 minutes, so we grabbed our second breakfast at Jack in the Box. This pier was giving Hannah Montana vibes. We stopped in this cute gift shop, took in the views, and then drove a few more minutes to Neptune's Cafe for every car lover's dream. Then we stumbled across this lookout point we didn't even plan on, called Point Mugu Rock. This was amazing. The road to Big Sur was actually closed today, so this was a great second alternative. We got some Starbucks and headed to Santa Barbara. We could actually drive our car onto the pier, and parking was free. This was probably my favorite stop. The vibes were vibing, but we were already really behind schedule at this point, so we headed back on the road, stopping at Solvang. This town is known for their European aesthetic, mirroring the country of Denmark. If we had more time, I would have stopped in every single gift shop here, so make sure to pencil in some time if you're doing this road trip. We got some pizza and headed towards our last stop before San Francisco at Pismo Beach. Timing was perfect because we got to see this amazing sunset before driving another 3 hours in the dark to San Francisco. Follow us to see our first full day in San Francisco tomorrow. This is day 5 of our Cali trip and our only full day in San Francisco, so we had to maximize our day. We started with these bomb breakfast sandwiches because we needed the energy to get up these massive hills. Our first hill of the day and we were already dead. They are definitely not for the weak. We didn't really have a plan for today, so we just kept walking and we saw this cute cable car and we walked down Lombard Street, the crookedest road in the world. San Francisco is known for their high crime rates, so we didn't want to risk our rental car getting broken into, so we just walked and biked everywhere. We walked to Fisherman's Wharf and saw these hilarious mints. There were tons of shops and tourist places to go to, and it's very popular for fish lovers. There were tons of street vendors and artists, and we actually got a picture from this guy. So talented. Pier 39 was an awesome tourist spot. We saw some sea lions and got some fresh fruit. Then we decided to look at the rest of the city on an e-bike. We would highly recommend doing this, especially this specific white e-bike with lift. The other bikes didn't have the same power that this one did to go up the hills, so we swapped them out. Biking across the Golden Gate Bridge was so surreal. It was windy and cold, but 100% worth it. Then we biked for another 2 hours through lots of parks, just admiring the views you wouldn't have had the chance to see if we drove. After a long day, we went to dinner at Back to Back. Side note, terrible service, would not recommend. So we finished our night at this cute cocktail bar and grabbed some pizza. Tomorrow we're heading to Yosemite, so make sure you follow along. Day 6 of our Cali trip, and we are leaving San Francisco. So first thing was to make our hotel review. Video's coming soon. And for breakfast, we got some SCE bowls and some bone broth for that good gut health. Then we checked out and we were back on the road making some more lookout stops before leaving San Francisco. We got some lunch at these hot dog vendors, which are located everywhere in the city pretty much, and drove out to another lookout point before heading to the Black Sand Beach. One thing I love about San Francisco is the fog. The fog started rolling in and we could barely see anything, but it was pretty cool. Black Sand Beach was definitely worth the 15-minute steep hike. Then we're back on the road heading to Yosemite. Quick stop to try some American McDonald's and then stopped at Target to get some water. It was about a 4-hour drive to Yosemite, and Denver made me sit through an audiobook tour about the townships as we drove past lots of dead grass and nothing. We arrived at our cozy hotel and then got some dinner at Smokehouse 41 for some barbecue. This place was so packed and it was delicious. Stay tuned tomorrow for our Yosemite hike. This is day 7 of our Cali trip and probably one of my favorites so far. We are in Yosemite today, up bright and early at 6 a.m. because we have 4 hikes planned for the day. We grabbed some sandwiches for lunch and then headed to the park. Our first stop was Tunnel View for that beautiful lookout spot. Then our first hike was Bridal Veil Falls. This was supposed to be only a 10-minute hike, but we actually went out on the rocks to get closer to the falls. I only went about halfway, but Denver went even farther, and you can kind of see his tiny body near the bottom right. We used the All Trails app to track each hike so you can see all of our stats. Our next hike was Lower Yosemite Falls. We saw this adorable deer on the trail and then hiked along the rocks again. This was the longest one, but honestly the most fun. The rocks weren't too difficult to get across. There was this pond that was only accessible through the rocks, and we even saw this guy swimming in this ice bath. Total time was 2.5 hours, and then we were on the road again to our next trail. Taft Point was next, and it was probably the hardest one of the day, but also the least busy. The views from here were unreal, but I have never seen Denver so scared in my life. There's only one tiny section with a guardrail, and the rest is a free fall, so don't get too close to the edge. This one took us about 2 hours with stops to take photos. The final stop of the day was Glacier Point. It wasn't really a hike, more of a lookout point to see Half Dome, as it was only about 1 kilometer. It was a popular spot because lots of people were here for the sunset. Just look at how incredible these shots are. It was just over an hour back to the hotel in pitch darkness on sketchy roads, so either leave earlier or come prepared for that drive. We ended the night with some tacos and an early sleep because tomorrow we're heading to Venice Beach. This is day 8 of our Cali trip, and it's a bit of a boring day today. We're traveling from Yosemite back to Venice Beach in LA. So we grabbed some breakfast first at the hotel, and then we grabbed some footage of the hotel for our hotel review on YouTube coming soon. Then we headed on the road and grabbed some lunch in LA called the Cali Chicken Cafe, and apparently it's Megan Trainor's favorite restaurant in LA, so we had to try it. It was really good. Denver got the Caesar wrap and I got the original 91. We still had some time to kill before checking in our hotel, so of course we had to stop at a mini golf place. This was probably the coolest one we've been to yet. We love mini golf because we did it on our first date, and ever since then, we've been making it a habit of doing it in every new place we go to. Denver never fails to beat me, but it's still a great time. Back on the road, and we saw this adorable doggo, and then we checked into our hotel, and this has to be my favorite one yet. Here's a sneak peek at our room review, which will be on YouTube soon, but just look at the vibes. We ended up using the pool before we had to get ready for dinner. Ignore the already messy room, but then we walked over to Beachside Restaurant and Bar to have this beautiful view of the sunset while we were eating. And that was all for today. Stay tuned tomorrow as we explore Venice Beach and Santa Monica area. This is day 9 of our Cali trip, and we are exploring Venice and Santa Monica today. We grabbed some breakfast at the Cow's End and then started walking along Venice Boardwalk. Even though it was cold and gloomy this morning, there are still tons of people surfing out there. It was awesome to see. There are lots of shops and foods on the boardwalk, including this vegan McDonald's. We saw the iconic Muscle Beach and then had to people watch at the skate park, of course. We found Venice Beach to be a bit sketchy. There's lots of homelessness, but nothing new from Toronto. I wouldn't recommend staying around here at night, though. We continued walking along the boardwalk towards Santa Monica, but first we saw these swings, which were a lot of fun, and then we made it. Honestly, it was a bit underwhelming. We didn't stay for too long, but I think it's still a must visit at least once. Grabbed some lunch at BB Bop and then explored Santa Monica a bit before we got on the metro bikes to head back to Venice. The sun started to come out, so the skate park was more popular, and then we headed to the Venice canals where we saw tons of beautiful houses and then stumbled upon this duck sanctuary. I don't know where they all came from, but they were so adorable. Then we watched the sunset on the beach, and I must say that California sunsets are another level of beautiful. It was a bucket list moment for sure. We ended the night with dinner at Paloma on Abbot Kinney and had another early night because tomorrow is our last full day and Denver is dirt biking at Glen Helen, so stay tuned for that vlog tomorrow. This is day 10 and our last day here in Cali. Today Denver is dirt biking on a world famous track, so we needed some fuel for breakfast at Starbucks and then grabbed some sandwiches for lunch at Trader Joe's. When we arrived, Denver saw some of his favorite riders there and he was freaking out. He equated it to me seeing Taylor Swift, but I don't know about that. Then he got to riding alongside his favorite pros, which was an awesome experience for him. It was almost 40 degrees this day, and I was suffering trying to find some shade and keep cool, but eventually I just ended up in the car with the AC on blast for the rest of the day. When he was done, we made a very necessary ice cream stop. And then we still had some time to kill before dinner, so we did a round of go-karting at K1 Speed, which was a ton of fun. Then it was time for dinner at Din Tai Fung. There was a ton of people here, and I actually made a reservation for the wrong location, but luckily they still accommodated us. We got all the TikTok recommendations like the garlic green beans, the pork xiaolong bao, eating it the traditional way that the server recommended, and we got these spicy chicken wontons that Denver would have never touched a few years ago. Black pepper used to be his spice limit. We also got the pork buns and chicken fried noodles, and then this black pepper beef, which was so good. I haven't seen anyone on TikTok talk about this one, but it was delicious. Highly recommend. For the grand finale, we got the chocolate and mochi xiaolong bao with sea salt cream, and oh my god, I've never tasted anything better in my life. We also got to see the chef's hand-making dumplings, which was awesome. Then we headed back to the hotel to pack because tomorrow we are finally heading back to Toronto.